There's a moment in every person's life when they look around and feel the urge to measure themselves against the world. It's almost instinctive. Who's ahead of me? Who's doing better? Who's moving faster? But progress was never meant to be a race against strangers. It was meant to be a journey toward your own potential. When we spend our time watching others, we start living on their timeline. We begin chasing goals that don't belong to us. And slowly, almost quietly, we disconnect from the things that make our work meaningful. The truth is simple: comparison steals clarity. Real growth happens when you shift your attention inward, when you pause long enough to ask, why am I doing this? What kind of person am I trying to become? What can I do today that brings me closer to that version of myself? These questions don't make you faster, they make you focused. The people who make the greatest impact in the world aren't the ones trying to outperform everyone. They're the ones working to outperform themselves. They invest in learning, they practice patience, and they understand that mastery comes from consistency, not competition. When your energy moves away from comparison and towards self-development, something powerful happens. Your decisions become clearer, your actions carry intention, and your progress becomes sustainable. You don't need to be louder than others, you need to be aligned with yourself. You don't need to keep up with their pace, you need to honor your own. You don't need to win their race, you need to run yours. So choose to focus on the one thing you can control, your growth, because when you do, you won't just change your life, you'll inspire others to look inward and discover their own path. Clarity of purpose begins within because every meaningful action you take is rooted in an internal understanding of who you are and why you choose to pursue a particular path. When individuals skip this foundational step and look outward for direction, their decisions become reactive rather than intentional. They begin to adopt goals based on what others are doing, what seems impressive, or what earns external approval. But clarity is not something that appears through imitation or comparison. It comes from self-inquiry, a deliberate process of exploring personal values, strengths, beliefs, and long-term aspirations. Without this internal clarity, even well-executed actions can feel empty, misaligned, or draining. Purpose acts as a personal compass, and the accuracy of that compass depends entirely on how honestly you reflect on what genuinely matters to you. Many people confuse purpose with achievement, assuming that the next milestone or accomplishment will reveal it. But purpose is not discovered through achievements. It guides which achievements are worth pursuing in the first place. When your purpose is internally defined, it becomes a stabilizing force. It anchors you in moments of uncertainty, it directs you when distractions arise, and it prevents the influence of others from pulling you away from what is meaningful. Self-understanding also protects you from the cycle of comparison. When you are clear about your purpose, the success of others becomes information, not intimidation. You can admire someone's progress without questioning your own. You stop asking, why are they ahead? And start asking, what steps align with my journey? This shift in thinking is powerful because it reclaims your mental and emotional energy. Instead of being scattered across the achievements and opinions of others, your energy is concentrated on your own development. Focus becomes easier, patience becomes more natural, and confidence grows organically because you are no longer validating your worth through external measurements. Clarity of purpose also enhances decision making. When you know why you are doing something, you become more selective with your commitments. You stop saying yes to opportunities that don't align with your values, even if they look impressive on the outside. You begin to prioritize long-term fulfillment over short-term applause. This intentional filtering creates a lifestyle that supports growth rather than drains it. Purpose helps you determine what deserves your attention, your time, and your effort. Without it, you may find yourself busy but not productive, active but not aligned, moving but not progressing. Another key aspect of clarity is the way it strengthens resilience. Challenges are inevitable, but purpose transforms how you interpret them. Obstacle becomes part of the process rather than a sign to abandon the journey. When you face setbacks without a clear purpose, they feel like personal failures. But when you face them with purpose, they feel like lessons, refinements, or redirections that ultimately support your growth. Purpose gives difficulty meaning, and meaning gives people the endurance to persist. This resilience is not fueled by comparison or competition, it is fueled by internal conviction. Clarity of purpose also deepens motivation. External motivation tends to fluctuate based on circumstances, praise, recognition, rewards, or societal expectations. Internal motivation, however, is sustained by purpose. It continues even when no one is watching, even when progress feels slow, and even when the path becomes challenging. People who operate from purpose-driven motivation show greater commitment because they are not working for approval, they are working toward becoming the best expression of themselves. Purpose enhances the quality of growth. When your development is guided by inner clarity, the skills you build, the habits you form, and the knowledge you pursue all contribute directly to your long-term vision. Instead of chasing trends or copying others, you build competencies that support your unique direction. This creates a deeper, more authentic form of growth, one that is not easily shaken by comparison or external pressure. Ultimately, clarity of purpose begins within because the only sustainable source of direction is internal alignment. When your decisions reflect your values, your goals reflect your identity, and your actions reflect your intentions, you create a life that feels meaningful from the inside out. Purpose is not something you find by looking at others. It is something you uncover by understanding yourself. Comparison distracts from growth because it shifts attention away from personal development and places it on factors that are largely beyond your control. The moment you begin measuring your progress against someone else's timeline, you unintentionally adopt their standards, their pace, and their definition of success. This creates a mindset in which your value is determined not by who you are becoming, but by how you rank in relation to others. Instead of asking, "What am I learning?" or "How am I improving?" the focus becomes, "Am I better than them?" This shift may seem subtle, but it fundamentally alters the way you think, behave, and make decisions. Comparison also distorts self-perception. When you observe others from the outside, you only see the polished results, the achievements, the strengths, the accomplishments, without the struggles and failures that happened behind the scenes. This creates an illusion that others are progressing effortlessly while you alone face difficulties. Such distorted thinking can lead to self-doubt, insecurity, and a constant feeling of inadequacy. Growth thrives in environments of honesty and patience, but comparison replaces these with pressure and unrealistic expectations. In this mental space, you begin losing sight of your true potential because you are too occupied judging yourself through someone else's lens. Another harm of comparison is the distraction it creates. Every minute spent evaluating someone else's progress is a minute taken away from building your own. Growth requires focused attention, and comparison scatters that focus. You might start altering your goals to match what others achieve, even when those goals are not aligned with your values. You may pursue paths that look successful superficially but hold no personal meaning. This type of distraction is dangerous because it leads to progress that feels forced or hollow. Even when you achieve something impressive, it won't feel fulfilling if it wasn't rooted in your authentic desires. Comparison also interferes with creativity. True creativity emerges when your mind is free to explore ideas, experiment, and make mistakes without fear of judgment. But when you constantly compare your abilities to those of others, you begin to hesitate. You hold back your ideas because they don't seem as refined. You abandon projects because someone else appears more skilled. You suppress your originality because it doesn't match what you perceive as superior. This self-censorship limits innovation and prevents you from unlocking your unique strengths. Growth requires experimentation, but comparison discourages risk and promotes imitation. In addition, comparison creates emotional turbulence that drains motivation. Instead of feeling inspired, you may feel threatened by others' progress. Instead of feeling encouraged, you may feel overwhelmed. Motivation grounded in comparison is always unstable because it depends on outperforming others rather than improving yourself. When someone else experiences success, it can feel like a personal setback, even if your own journey is progressing well. This emotional roller coaster becomes exhausting and can lead to burnout. Sustainable motivation comes from internal commitment, not external competition. Comparison also damages relationships. When you constantly evaluate yourself against others, it becomes difficult to celebrate their achievements genuinely. Their success may feel like a reminder of your perceived shortcomings. Over time, this mindset can create unnecessary tension, jealousy, or resentment. Growth thrives in collaborative environments where people learn from one another without feeling threatened by one another. Comparison shifts the dynamic from learning to competing, preventing meaningful connections and limiting the exchange of ideas that could support mutual development. Another critical effect of comparison is that it often leads to stagnation rather than progress. When someone else's strengths overshadow your view of your own abilities, you may begin to question whether your efforts are worthwhile. This self-doubt can stop you from taking action, trying new strategies, or pursuing challenges that could elevate your potential. Growth requires movement, consistent steps taken with intention, but comparison traps you in a cycle of hesitation, overthinking, and fear of inadequacy. The resulting stagnation is not caused by a lack of ability, but by a misplaced focus. Comparison also limits your understanding of success. Success is deeply personal and varies from individual to individual. What fulfills one person may not fulfill another, and what challenges one person may come easily to someone else. When you compare, you adopt someone else's definition of success rather than creating your own. This leads to a life that looks accomplished on the outside but feels unfulfilling on the inside. Growth is meaningful only when it aligns with who you are, not who others expect you to be. By distracting attention away from personal development and shifting it toward external judgments, comparison prevents you from recognizing your own progress. You may overlook small victories, ignore improvements, or dismiss efforts that genuinely matter. Growth becomes invisible because you are too focused on how far ahead someone else might be. This blind spot is dangerous because people often quit right before meaningful progress begins, not because they are incapable, but because comparison convinced them they were not enough. Self-investment creates long-term success because it builds a foundation that cannot be taken away, outperformed easily, or diminished by external circumstances. When you invest time, energy, and discipline into your own development, you are cultivating skills, habits, and mindsets that continue to serve you regardless of changes around you. External opportunities may fluctuate and circumstances may shift, but the qualities you build internally remain with you. This makes self-investment one of the most reliable strategies for sustainable growth. It transforms progress from something dependent on luck or timing into something driven by personal capability and preparation. Consistent learning is a primary form of self-investment that fuels long-term success. In any field, knowledge evolves, techniques advance, and expectations rise. When individuals prioritize ongoing learning rather than relying on what they already know, they stay adaptable. They become capable of navigating challenges that others may find overwhelming. This ongoing learner's mindset is powerful because it positions you as someone who can grow with the demands of the future rather than being stuck in the skills of the past. Learning is not merely about acquiring information. It strengthens confidence, sharpens decision making, and expands your ability to solve problems. Self-reflection is another crucial aspect of self-investment. Without reflection, even strong efforts can become misdirected. Reflection gives clarity about what is working, what needs improvement, and what habits are hindering progress. It creates a deeper understanding of personal patterns, how you respond to stress, how you handle opportunities, and how you make decisions. This awareness allows you to refine your actions and align them more closely with your long-term goals. People who invest in reflection rarely drift off track for long because they continuously recalibrate their direction. Instead of repeating mistakes or acting on impulse, they move with intention. Personal discipline is one of the most transformative forms of self-investment. Discipline builds consistency, and consistency builds mastery. Talent alone rarely produces meaningful success. It is the repeated, deliberate practice of habits that elevates someone from good to exceptional. Discipline teaches you how to follow through on commitments even when motivation fades. It trains your mind to prioritize long-term benefits over short-term comfort. Over time, disciplined actions compound, creating progress that may seem slow initially but becomes powerful and undeniable. Your ability to remain committed distinguishes you from those who start strong but cannot sustain momentum. Self-investment also enhances resilience. When you cultivate strong internal resources, such as emotional intelligence, problem-solving skills, patience, adaptability, and self-belief, you become more capable of facing challenges without being discouraged. Difficult experiences no longer derail you, they become opportunities to grow stronger. Resilience is not something people are simply born with. It develops through intentional self-work, learning to regulate emotions, reframing failures, and practicing persistence. When you invest in these inner capabilities, you build the kind of resilience that supports long-term success in any environment. Another dimension of self-investment is physical and mental well-being. Success loses its meaning if it comes at the expense of health or inner peace. Prioritizing rest, nutrition, fitness, and mental clarity ensures that you have the energy and stability to handle opportunities as they come. When your body and mind are functioning well, productivity increases, creativity flows more easily, and challenges feel more manageable. Investment in well-being is often underestimated, yet it fuels every other area of growth. The stronger your foundation, the higher you can build. Self-investment deepens personal identity and strengthens authenticity. When you spend time understanding your values, clarifying your goals, and developing your strengths, you become more aligned with who you truly are. This alignment creates a sense of purpose and direction that external validation cannot match. You begin making decisions based on what is meaningful rather than what is popular. Authenticity enhances confidence because you no longer feel the need to imitate others or seek constant approval. Instead, your actions reflect your genuine character, which naturally attracts opportunities that fit your unique path. This inner work also improves relationships. When you invest in communication skills, empathy, and emotional awareness, you build stronger connections with others. These relationships are not built on comparison or insecurity, but on mutual respect and understanding. Personal growth enhances your ability to collaborate, lead, and inspire. People are naturally drawn to individuals who demonstrate self-awareness and a commitment to improvement. This influence becomes a valuable asset in every environment, personal, academic, and professional. Self-investment creates long-term success because it compounds over time. Small habits practiced consistently produce significant transformations. A few minutes of reading daily builds a wealth of knowledge. Regular reflection sharpens clarity. Discipline strengthens character. Healthy routines enhance performance. None of these changes appear dramatic in the moment, but they accumulate into a level of growth that becomes impossible to ignore. External success may fluctuate, but the internal capabilities you build continue to elevate your opportunities, your confidence, and your potential. Internal alignment leads to external impact because the most meaningful influence begins with clarity about who you are and what you stand for. When your values, actions, and intentions are aligned, the way you show up in the world becomes consistent and reliable. People naturally trust and respond to individuals whose behavior is grounded in authenticity rather than pretense. Internal alignment creates this consistency. It removes the gap between what you believe and what you do, allowing your presence to feel genuine, steady, and confident. When your internal world is organized, your external actions carry a sense of direction that others can recognize and respect. Alignment strengthens decision making because every choice is guided by principles rather than pressure. Many people make decisions based on expectations, trends, or comparisons with others. Without internal clarity, decisions become reactive, shifting with circumstances or opinions. But when your values are clear, your choices become intentional. Even when faced with uncertainty or competing priorities, you can filter decisions through what matters most to you. This creates a sense of stability that others notice. People gravitate toward those who consistently act from purpose rather than impulse, and this reliability enhances influence. Internal alignment also deepens confidence. When your actions reflect your beliefs, you don't feel the need to seek validation or adjust yourself to impress others. Confidence becomes a natural byproduct of living in harmony with your principles. This type of confidence is calm, grounded, and lasting because it does not depend on external approval. Instead, it stems from knowing that your behavior matches your values. When you speak, work, or lead from this place, your impact grows because people sense sincerity rather than performance. Authentic confidence inspires trust more effectively than any attempt to appear impressive. Alignment enhances emotional stability. When you live out of sync with your values, internal conflict arises, creating stress, confusion, or self-doubt. But when your internal beliefs and external actions match, you experience psychological coherence. This coherence provides emotional strength during difficult situations. Challenges feel more manageable because you are rooted in a stable foundation. People who remain composed in uncertainty naturally become sources of reassurance for others. Their steadiness has a ripple effect, influencing team dynamics, relationships, and environments simply through their presence. Internal alignment makes communication more impactful. When your words reflect your values and experience, they carry weight. You communicate with clarity rather than confusion, openness rather than defensiveness, and conviction rather than doubt. People listen more attentively to someone who speaks from clarity. Alignment eliminates the mixed messages that arise when someone says one thing but behaves differently. Instead, your communication becomes direct and honest, strengthening your ability to motivate, guide, or inspire others. Another aspect of alignment is its effect on behavior. When you act in accordance with your values, your behavior becomes predictable in the best way. Consistent, dependable, and trustworthy. Consistency builds credibility over time. Whether in leadership, friendships, or professional settings, people respect those whose actions match their words. This alignment turns you into someone others rely on. Your behavior becomes a model, not because you intend to impress, but because your internal clarity naturally shapes how you show up. Alignment also fuels intrinsic motivation. When your work, goals, and habits match what you genuinely care about, effort feels meaningful rather than forced. You are more willing to invest time, energy, and persistence because your actions reflect your identity. This deeper motivation results in higher quality work and sustained progress. People notice the difference between someone who is simply completing tasks and someone who is genuinely committed. When your motivation is authentic, your external results become stronger and your impact becomes more visible. Internal alignment encourages integrity, which is one of the most influential traits a person can possess. Integrity means doing what is right even when it is difficult. It means staying true to your values when shortcuts or comparisons tempt you to act otherwise. Integrity is noticed not through grand gestures, but through consistent choices. Small moments when you honor your principles. People remember and respect these moments. Influence gained through integrity is durable because it is built on trust. Alignment also enhances creativity and innovation. When you are internally centered, your mind is free from the noise of comparison or external pressure. You can think more clearly, experiment more confidently, and explore ideas without fear of judgment. Creativity thrives in environments of internal freedom. When you trust your inner compass, you allow your ideas to unfold naturally. This authenticity leads to fresh insights and meaningful contributions that resonate with others. Your impact grows because your ideas are rooted in genuine expression rather than imitation. Internal alignment radiates outward. It shapes how you lead, how you speak, how you work, and how you connect with others. When people encounter someone who is aligned, clear in purpose, consistent in action, confident in identity, they often feel inspired to seek the same clarity in themselves. Influence at this level is not forced. It emerges organically. It is not about trying to outshine others. It is about shining from within, in a way that naturally illuminates the path for those around you.